Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our journey. Yeah, our journey of learning just one little bit more of this amazing ancient language that's happened to be my mother tongue. And last time we talked about 人生苦旅. We have this journey image paired with life's journey. Okay, so that's Chinese expression, and single out the bitterness as the dominant taste of how it felt, the human life's experience, basically summarized into one taste, that is bitter. Okay, today we have again bitter journey, but today with a little bit of a twist. Now we're not talking about an individual's journey as a person lives through life cycle, right? Things that people have as an individual have to face throughout their lives. Here we're talking about culture. 文化 is Chinese way to say culture. Okay. Let's go to individual ones. 文, I translate it as text. Because even if it looks almost like a standing up person, somewhat twisted with an X over there, right? And long legs extending. It somewhat looked like a person with this head, this arm reach out. But actually this character came from the origin of the cracks, like zigzag irregular patterns, cracks shown on, back then we used turquoise, right? The shells to as the media to capture messages, because turquoise can last longer. Even if the language, whoever carved that in, long gone, the shell can still be preserved. So it was kind of the hard drive back then of information storage. So this turquoise over time are going to crack. So even if it's long preserved, it can travel through time, through generations, and you can have your message captured in there, and still later generations, let's say 1,000 years later, people can still read what's on there. But turquoise is not undamaged by time. A lot of time there got cracks on it, right? And here we're not talking about the nature cracked turquoise surface pattern. We're talking about the pattern itself that's intentionally carved in. I mean, I can imagine as foreigners looking at this scriggly writing, especially like example, like something looks almost like a lightning patterns in the sky, right? It's hard to rationalize what these little cracks on a 2D surface is. So this text, we can view it almost like a surface texture, but this texture was left intentionally by generations ago, and people keep their message in that text to pass down to later. So eventually this means just like text. And I guess text and texture in English as well, they're correlated. Text can be a kind of a texture, and texture sometimes is meant to be used, to be read, to be decoded as text. There are messages embedded in a texture, right? So this irregular crossing line and paired with so we have vertical and semi-horizontal and a cross. So basically that depicts in the shape or the form of the text, like in a turquoise recorded message, the code written on there could look just like irregular, have all directions of strokes carved in onto that turquoise. So that's the origin of text. Okay, 画. This actually is 画. Okay, this lightning looking thing is 画. And 画, I translate it as form, but it could mean change as well. We have this human figure on the left side. So I guess this is that originally. And then this is a human figure flipped I guess this is like 180-degree flip and then flip upside down flip as well. But over here, you can see it's depicting of 180-degree upside down flip. Wait, hold on. Let me see what kind of flip is this. So it's not a mirror flip, and it's not a vertical flip, and it's not even a rotation. So, okay, so this looks like, it looks like flip twice. Okay, so this figure, a mirror flip horizontally to the other side, right? And that horizontal flip got vertical flipped again. And then it looks like 180-degree. It looks like 180-degree rotation, right? Yeah, it actually is 180-degree rotation. So it was facing up, now it's pointing down. So that means the same icon, that's human figure, two-legged standing being, conscious being, right? That human figure flipped this way, that way, or rotated to a different direction, like the head is facing up and down, like facing on different location. It means that human figure change over time. Or it could be that human figure not change over time, but at the flip of the thought, flip of the thinking, or even flip of the character or personality. Something about that same human figure looking from a different direction changed. So you cannot see him or her as a static person, as a poker face, or not poker face, but like a stock figure. Human is complicated, right? They can change, and they may have a different aspects of them that you don't see on a surface level, or you probably normally just see this way, but they can be 180-degree different from what you see. And form from that. So it can mean change, right? It can also mean form, because we can see this same form of things, even though flipped, retain their form. So form as a major attribute of a thing, like how can you define that's a human figure as a human figure, right? So there are some fixed structural entities or attributes about that. So the relationship between this line and this line retain in this angle, in this relationship, no matter how it's flipped or mirrored or recreated, repositioned, it's going to be retaining that internal structural form. So that's my understanding of why hua can also mean form. You retain your form, even if you view it differently. Okay, so text form, isn't that interesting? Like Chinese would conceptualize the corresponding culture as probably in English. And this could be a later translation, because yeah, Chinese, when we say hua, form, we also have this hua, not only means change or form or the shape of things, it can also means the conversion, basically conform. So convert, like the new coming, like babies, right? It got culturalized and then conform to the culturally acceptable norm or standard or expectation of that person. So that person have to go through this reformation, basically. Everybody have to reform themselves from their natural being to this culturally cultivated being. And that's the form. When we talk about forming of a person or formative years, right, in English. So that's the function of form here. So when that's the media, the vehicle of the message from the ancestors, or from can represent the society, have message to you, because you can only interface with people in your life, right? Unlike, I mean, imagine in the past, we don't have YouTube. You cannot really meet me in a different space, in a different time. As here, it's recorded, it's captured. But back then, everything is live. It's in real life interfacing only. So you can only interface with your families, friends, that's it. To get your sphere, your influence beyond your initial bubble, you have to go through text. So text represents ancient and also exterior, like a much, much bigger scope of knowledge of human or society, already agreed upon thoughts about how things work, right? So that's text. And the form is like you try to formulate yourself to according to that text, what you read. And so this kind of conformation through text, these two components of what culture is about is captured in this Chinese. I think it's a translation because we don't really see in ancient text of 文化, this combination. But in contemporary Chinese, somebody coined this word and picked 文 representing the text form and the 化 representing the process of how a human got cultured. It's through conformity and most likely through reading of first become literate, right? Become to understand the text and then have a sort of influence or interaction with the text. And then you become who you are, become part of the culture. Okay, so that's 文化 culture. Now we talk about journey, bitterness. It's the same. So instead of using it on a personal individual scale, here we're applying that concept of, life is bitter to the whole culture. And this actually is a title of a famous book that sold sold at least 10 million copies by this author called Yu Qiuyu. And he published the book. Ooh, I have a typo over there. Ignore that. He published the book in 1992, exact 30 years ago. So文化苦旅 was the title of still is the title of this book. And the long version of that is called Cultural Perplexity in Agonized Travel. I view it as an agonized translation. I translate cultural agony. So it's almost like a self-recognition or self-consciousness as a culture. So this scholar basically was speaking on behalf of whoever is well cultured in Chinese culture and through seeing through that Chinese cultural lens of its own positioning through history and also comparing with the culture, other cultures on planet Earth. So that's the scoping, like look at yourself through the history, through a time lens or through space lens, people from different cultures, how you view yourself, and through viewing, like comparing how you're thinking about things with other cultures or your ancestors, how they approach things, then you kind of have some painful revelation of what your culture is about. It's just like self-criticism, right? We view ourselves, we can see our weakness a lot and therefore suffering. And this is like a self-critical look at Chinese as a culture entity and how, throughout the history and throughout the whole world, when we self-consciously examine Chinese as a culture, what pain, what agony that brought upon us, upon the revelation. And sometimes we talk about like people who are unknown, ignorant person. Ignorance is a blessing. Okay, that's the phrase. So this is kind of a counter that. This is like you're acutely aware of the agony because now you are aware, awareness agony, I guess. So this is cultural agony in particular. All right, cash into currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.